For centuries, feudalism was the system that shaped medieval Europe, a system based upon land, loyalty, and dependency. Today, we uncover the history and evolution of feudalism, the system that forged the Middle Ages. Feudalism emerged in the 8th century during the Carolingian Empire, first enacted by Pepin of Herstal. However, at first they did not grant a fief. Before then, they granted a benefice, which was a plot of land, but it was granted temporarily. Still though, this policy was rarely enacted by Pepin nor Martel. The granting of benefices would only begin to rise under the famous Charlemagne, as he needed it in order to keep his vast empire under control. Thus, feudalism managed to spread throughout the Carolingian Empire, even as it was divided by the Treaty of Verdun in 843, as Charlemagne's grandsons remained engaged in constant warfare. This made feudalism critical for their survival. It provided self-sufficiency and troops that they desperately needed to defend their kingdoms. But it would have an added side effect. The act of granting benefices made the kingdoms decentralized and royal authority weakened. By the late 9th century, royal authority over free men had significantly diminished as they turned to local lords for protection and governance. Around the same time, these benefices grew more hereditary, as with the decline of royal authority, they treated their holdings as hereditary possessions. Eventually, these benefices would become fiefs as it became hereditary. Feudalism reached its complete state in the 10th to 13th century. Here, feudalism was widespread across Europe, with many different variations depending on region. So let's look at our various subjects. Our first subject is the Kingdom of France. France was a decentralized kingdom in the Middle Ages, as feudalism made property divided up, and so thus there were princes in France. These princes had major power in France. However, slowly but surely, the monarchy would regain its grip over these princes. One way was through control of justice. Justice wasn't as divided as property and allowed French kings to slowly gain control of the justice system within the kingdom. In terms of royal authority, the king's power was limited to their feudal capacity. Despite this, the monarchy's control and sovereignty was respected across France, and the kings of France were quick to use this power on the basis of their feudal rights. Feudalism wouldn't reach England until the Norman Conquest. As William pacified England, he brought with him the feudal system from Normandy. There, the system was much more different. In English feudalism, the monarchy had much more control over its vassals. A normal fief enjoyed no jurisdictive or administrative power besides those barons with great honors. In England, there was no such thing as private property, while in France and Germany it remained. In England, it was completely gone, and all property was directly or indirectly controlled by the monarchy. Eventually, England developed scutage, a special tax paid by vassals in order to avoid providing military service. This made England more independent from the feudal levy, once again increasing royal authority. However, a revolt from the barons would force the English king, King John I, also known as John the Lackland, to sign the Magna Carta, which slowed the increasing royal authority. In Germany, feudalism and state power developed differently. The crown initially relied on the remnants of the Carolingian Empire and its control over the church. However, the investiture controversy weakened royal authority, allowing dukes to become independent princes. Frederick Barbarossa later tried to reorganize the empire on a feudal basis, making imperial princes, dukes, and margraves ruling multiple counties, the foundation of royal power. The king was also forced to re-grant escheated fiefs, which were fiefs returned to the emperor due to the lack of heirs or through forfeit. This prevented the formation of a strong royal domain and led to Germany's complete feudalization, with the monarchy losing control over emerging states like Prussia, Austria, and Bavaria. Spain would turn feudal during the 9th century through the Reconquista. Here, the government was based on municipal institutions inherited from Rome. Cities and towns had autonomy but remained under Spanish rule. During the Reconquista, repopulation granted peasants greater freedom than in other parts of Europe. In Castile, some peasants, known as caballeros villanos, had the same status as nobles if they defended their land on horseback. Over time, the direct democracy, open councils of medieval towns, was replaced by representative councils. Some towns controlled nearby villages like feudal lords, ruling over peasants much like nobles and clergy. Even in royal towns, peasants were not fully free, as they paid taxes and followed strict laws. This created a hybrid feudal system where both towns and nobles shared power over the countryside. By the late Middle Ages, the monarchy centralized authority, reducing the independence of towns and nobles, leading to a more authoritarian rule. In Jerusalem, after its triumph in the First Crusade, Godfrey of Bouillon, the first ruler of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, distributed land to his loyal vassals, establishing feudal lordships, though these were smaller than the ones in Europe. Feudalism in the Holy Land had a strong military focus, with castles and fortresses being more important than manors, as constant warfare required strong defenses. The king, assisted by several officers, ruled primarily from Jerusalem, though the city remained small due to the ban on Muslim residence. He frequently held court in Acre, Nablus, or Tyre. The royal family resided on the Temple Mount, but later moved to the Tower of David, with another palace in Acre. Unlike in Europe, nobles often lived in Jerusalem rather than on rural estates, giving them greater influence over the king. As a result, the king relied heavily on the high court, composed of powerful nobles, for major decisions. As feudalism declined in the West, it rose in Eastern Europe, lasting well into the 16th century due to economic and political conditions. Unlike in Western Europe, where trade and urbanization weakened feudal ties, Eastern Europe adapted feudalism to global trade by enforcing serfdom and forced labor for cash crop production. Feudalism in the East was shaped by aristocratic power, Christianity, and serfdom, as large estates needed labor but had too few peasants. Instead of moving towards capitalism, absolutist rulers strengthened their feudal control to maintain economic and military stability. However, wars and instability led to political fragmentation and weakened central authority. Eastern Europe's feudal system persisted much longer than in the West, evolving to meet economic pressures rather than disappearing. Feudal institutions lasted in Western Europe to the end of the Ancien Regime, which refers to the absolute monarchies before the 18th and 19th centuries. In some countries, it lasted even until the 19th and 20th centuries, but from the 13th century, it ceased to be the fundamental element in Western Europe. The personal elements in feudal relations became purely a formality, done to gain possession of one's fief. Side by side with these changes, a transformation was taking place. From the 13th century onwards, the bourgeoisie, or the middle class of society, was acquiring fiefs alongside the nobles. Feudalism left behind many legacies. It is from feudalism that the prestige of military profession, the belief in binding force of engagement freely entered into, the idea that one is not bound to obey an order incompatible with one's dignity as a free man, are ultimately derived. Thank you for watching. If you want to support this channel, then please click that subscribe and bell button. It would mean a lot. As always, see you in the next one. Something you may realize on this video is that I got a bit lazy in the editing this video. I'm very sorry for that. But moving on, but thank you for watching this episode on feudalism. If you do have any hope on it, then you can click that subscribe button and also watch episode 1. More importantly, please do bear in mind that I am not a formal educator. Like I said in the disclaimer, I am not qualified. I'm just a random guy who likes history. So take this all in with a grain of salt. And if you see or find any mistakes in this video, point them out to me in the comments or something. If you can provide the source link, like a link to back up your statement, please do, because well, my channel's too small. I'll probably read through all of them anyway, but I want to learn like you, like as much as you are. So I hope this video and this channel as a whole can be I guess useful to you and to me. Okay, bye.